Language Heroes, honoring translators on International Translation Day. Get ready to bridge the language gap and dive into the world of words because International Translation Day is around the corner. This holiday celebrates the unknown heroes who unite people around the world. International Translation Day first started in 1953 by the International Federation of Translators. In 2017, an official announcement was made by the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. It chose September 30th as International Translation Day to recognize the role of translators in bringing nations together and supporting international understanding. September 30th is also the day St. Jerome passed away. St. Jerome was a famous translator who is known for translating most of the Bible into Latin. You can celebrate International Translation Day in many ways, too. One cool way is to learn a new language. If it's too hard to learn an entire language, just try to learn some greetings. At the very least, you'll be able to connect with more foreign friends.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to English for You. I am Mike.
Bonjour, and I'm Laura.
Wow, you just translated some words from English to French.
I know.
That must be because you're a language hero and you're honoring translators on International Translation Day.
Yes, that's what we're talking about today. So cool. I want to get international.
That's great.
Konnichiwa.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess you have to do a little bit of translation since you speak both Chinese and English very well. Have you ever thought of being a real translator? Someone who actually gets paid to do that job?
It's a lot of work.
It is hard.
I've thought about it, but it's a lot of work and I don't want to make mistakes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I guess you could do it.
You have to be very careful.
You could do it with writing, in which case you have a bit more time, but
interpreting
you need to be
could be very tough.
But real time, like live doing it, when you see those international meetings and, I don't know, Joe Biden is talking to Xi Jinping. They don't speak each other's language, so they need interpreters or translators to do it in real time. And I can't imagine how Imagine doing it with those powerful people and you make a mistake and you could start a war. I mean, it would be terrible. But even if you're not in the most dramatic and pressure-filled kind of situation, like translating for world leaders, translators still do amazing work. They still do very complicated things. And I mean, think of it, even if you turn on your Netflix, imagine if they didn't have all those subtitles for you to enjoy your American, Indian, Japanese, Korean shows from all around the world. You can read them in your own language at the bottom of the screen. That is just one of the ways that translators make all of our lives more enjoyable, safer, better by helping us with language difficulties.
Okay. Well, today we're going to take a look at an article about this, right?
Yeah, and look at a day that's all about translation. Yay. I didn't even know this was a special thing, so that's cool. We'll learn more about the job, learn why it's important, and learn what you might be able to do to help celebrate or honor translators on International Translation Day. Let's get to it. The article begins, get ready to bridge the language gap and dive into the world of words because International Translation Day is around the corner. That's right, mark it on your calendars. This is a good day to bridge the language gap and dive into the world of international words. Okay, when we bridge a gap, basically, we're kind of bringing different things together or covering a large difference between things, right?
That's right. Gap 其实就有差距的意思。那我们当用 bridge the gap 就是有弭平或者是缩短差距。那 gap 其实我们常常会用在像是代沟，一个横沟。So generation gap 就是代沟。OK， 所以准备好要拉近语言的隔阂，并深入探索文字的世界。因为呢，今天我们要讲到的是 International Translation Day， 国际翻译日即将到来。It's just around the corner. corner. 那 translation 当然就是翻译哦。Okay, so how do I use this word gap?
Yeah, well, a gap is just a big space or a big difference between people. We have an example sentence I should mention about the word gap. Here it's a wealth gap, a gap between rich and poor. It says the wealth gap between rich and poor has grown in most countries over the past 70 years. That's right. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the people in the middle are being squeezed.
Okay, and we also saw the phrase dive into something, 就是全心投入. Okay, now for example, learning a new hobby is a great way to dive into something new and discover hidden talents.
It is a good way to do it. Also, learning a language is a good way
to
get into new things. Anyway, back to the article. This holiday, International Translation Day, this holiday celebrates the unknown heroes who unite people around the world. Yeah, it's basically a day to bring attention to a special group of people, these translators who do a very special but kind of quiet job, right? I mean, I don't think we could name a translator. We can't think of all the things that they do. They aren't on television or anything like that. So they're kind of unknown heroes. People who aren't famous, but they still do amazing, important work. That's why we call them heroes. And they unite people around the world. To unite is to bring, to join, to come together. We're taking things that were apart, that were separated, that were not connected, and we're bringing them together in all sorts of different ways. Here's one example. The treaty united all of the countries into one big trading group, like the countries of Europe are now in the EU. They got united into the EU about 20 years ago, and now they kind of work as one big country.
OK, 我们提到国际翻译日哦，这个节日是赞扬 celebrate 在这里是有赞扬或是歌颂的意思哦。那些未被认识就是 unknown 的英雄，他们将世界各地的人们团结在一起哦。Unite 这里就是使结合或者是统一呀、联合啊，它是一个动词。So when did this International Translation Day come from?
Well, it's actually been around a long time. It says International Translation Day first started in 1953 by the International Federation of Translators. As long as there have been people who speak different languages, there have been translators. So, of course, we're going back thousands of years. But it was only recently, maybe, after World War II, after the establishment or the beginning of the United Nations, with a lot of important people meeting to discuss important world affairs, that translators really became kind of noticeable and really became important. And of course, with media and film and television and movies being translated, they're even more important than they were back in the 1950s.
Yeah, for sure. 国际翻译日原来这么早哦，早于1953年由这个International Federation of Translators 就是国际翻译工作者联合会创立的哦。那其中的 Federation 当然就是联盟、联会 ，Translator 当然就是翻译者。
All right, so since the 1950s, people have sort of been honoring translators and stuff like that, but it really became more official or more sort of important in 2017. It says in 2017, an official announcement was made by the United Nations General Assembly, or UNGA. I don't think it's called UNGA, but that would be a good name for it. No, it's the UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly. That's just the big body made up of, around 200 countries, meets at the United Nations in New York, and they make announcements that are official because that's a big, important government body, the United Nations, or if it's the American government, the Taiwan government, if it's the mayor of Taipei, something like that, and they say a certain thing, they make an announcement, they announce a new rule or law, it's official, all right? If I tell you, you can't park there, and you say, are you a police officer? And I say, no, and they say, then it's not official because I don't have the power from the government or whoever to tell you what to do. But if it is official, then someone with power, someone with authority can tell you certain things. And if you argue about it and say, I don't want to, they say you could get in trouble because it's official. It comes with the power of the government behind it in some way. Here's an example. Miss America, even though she has a name, Miss America has no real official power.
OK， 所以在2017年联合国大会做出了正式宣布哦，这里的 UNGA 就是联合国大会，其中的 Assembly 就是有集会议会。那 official 呢，当然就是官方的。那官方语言呢，就是 official language。我们还看到 announcement 这个字，就是公告、宣告。How do I use this word announcement?
An announcement is basically when I tell you something and it's really important and I want everyone to hear it. All right, so it's not a secret. I'm not whispering it to you. I'm not sending one message to one friend on my phone. I send this message to everyone. I write it on my Facebook page. I, hire someone so I can go on TV and tell the whole world about it. It's a big news and I want everyone to know it's an announcement. For example, did you hear the announcement that said we all have to work next Saturday? That's an announcement I don't want to hear. But it's official, so we have to.
It's a make-up work day. Okay. An announcement, 我再来造一个句子哦，像是 The teacher made an exciting announcement. We're going on a field trip next week. Yeah, 就是一个公告宣告，大家都会知道的。刚刚的句子呢，我们看到一个非常重要的An official announcement was made. Okay? 这就是今天的 Language in Focus 要教大家的哦。Let's take a look.Language in Focus 今天要看到是被动语态，它是用来表示某人或是东西被怎么样了，用来强调承受动作的人或是东西，而不是执行动作的人或者是物哦。我们来看一下句型通常长什么样子，就是主词加 be 动词加 PP， 然后有时候我们可以省略 by 再接受词。我们来举个例子会比较清楚哦。The house was cleaned by a professional cleaner. 这间房子是由一位专业的清洁工被他清洁的哦。那如果主动的语气，我们可以说 A professional cleaner cleaned the house. 你有没有知道这样子的一个变化？再来，我们也来有另外一个例子好了。The movie was directed by a famous filmmaker. 这部电影是由一位非常有名的电影导演而指导的，希望大家知道这样子的用法怎么转换。
All right, that sounds all good to me. And let's get back to this official announcement about International Translators Day. We read that it happened back in 2017, and since it's a day, they kind of have to pick a day, right? Like Earth Day is on a certain day, things like that. So what did they do for this one? It says that's the UNGA, the General Assembly of the United Nations. It chose September 30th as International Translation Day to recognize the role of translators in bringing nations together and supporting international understanding. Yeah, very true, because often political problems can come up between countries simply because they don't have enough people who can understand what the other guys are saying. So they really do. You could really say that translators help to keep the world in peace and help us to avoid war by helping people communicate and fix their problems without fighting.
OK, 所以他们选了哪一天呢？就是9月30日当做国际翻译日哦。那就是为了要怎么样？要表扬。就是 recognize 这里有表扬认可翻译人员在团结各国和支持国际理解方面的作用。这里 bring something or somebody together 就是使团结的意思哦。So September 30th, that must be also a special day. Why did they pick this day?
Yeah, there was actually another reason why September 30th was a good day. It says September 30th is also the day Saint Jerome passed away. So this is a Christian saint from long ago. Now, why Saint Jerome? Because, of course, there are many saints that come from the Christian church. Why Saint Jerome? Saint Jerome was a famous translator who was known for translating most of the Bible into Latin. There you go. So the Bible, which was written in, of course, now the Bible's written in any language you want to find it in. It was in Latin before it was in Greek. And so they had to translate it over the hundreds of years to get it into languages people could still read. So he was really good at translating. And of course, translating the Bible, probably like 1,000 years ago, was a pretty important thing that Jerome did.
所以9月30原来也是圣 Jerome 他过世的日子哦。那他是一位非常有名的翻译家，所以他是把这个大部分好厉害哦圣经翻译成拉丁文而闻名的哦。Be known for something 就是以什么为人所知。
Okay, so what about us? We can't go to the United Nations. We can't celebrate this day with the translators. So what can you do? Well, you can celebrate International Translation Day in many ways, too. One cool way is to learn a new language. I don't think we're expecting people to learn a whole language in a day, but just begin or take a few steps.
That's right.
Learn a few things.
Bonjour,
That's a good idea.
所以可以用很多方式来庆祝国际翻译日，其中一个很酷的方法，当然就是学一门新语言啦。That's a good way.
It's a good way, but I think the person who wrote the article thinks we're all really, really smart. Because next it says, if it's too hard to learn an entire language, it is. Just in one day, just try to learn some greeting words. That's a good, or some greetings, I should say. That's a good idea. Yes, we're not expecting you to learn Portuguese on September 30th, the whole language in one day. But, you know, Portuguese, Korean, Japanese, whatever language you're interested in, if you don't know it, you could learn a few things, simple things like greetings. These are the kind of things you might want to learn before you go to a country with a new language. A greeting would be something like hello, goodbye. You could also learn things like you're welcome or please, thank you, yes, no, excuse me, you know, stuff like that. Those are some simple things you could say, some for greetings, some for simple questions and whatnot. But greetings are basically hellos and goodbyes, words of welcome or words of farewell. For example, the bride and groom's parents gave a warm greeting to each guest as they entered the church. So, welcome, thanks for coming, we're happy to see you, things like that.
那如果你学习整个语言就想说怎么可能一天学一个语言啊？那当然就试着学一些 greetings。
At the very least, it says, even if you don't learn the few new greetings, at the very least, you'll be able to connect with more foreign friends. That's true. You can enjoy the benefits of having translators around, either by speaking to people and doing it yourself, or even you can enjoy it by watching foreign films on that day. That might be an idea. Find a film from a part of the country, a part of the world you don't know anything about and certainly don't know the language, but through the magic of technology, you can get it translated for you as you enjoy some great entertainment. To connect is to join things together. Now, of course, we might connect things like you connect your phone to the power cable so that you can recharge your phone, but we can also connect things in a way that isn't actually touching when you have relationships or even when you call someone, you are connecting to that person. You might connect over your love of computer games, or you might connect with someone over email by just sending them a message. But we're creating a link, we're joining things together, either in the real world or in other ways. For example, Jessie and her boyfriend first connected over their shared love of snakes and spiders. Well, I'm glad they found each other.
OK, 至少呢 at the very least 就是至少的意思哦。你将能够与更多外国朋友建立良好关系哦。Connect 就是跟别人建立好良好关系。Connect with somebody 跟什么人建立良好关系。For example, when you find someone who shares the same interests and hobbies as you, it's easy to connect and become good friends.
Absolutely, it is. And it's a great way also to learn a little bit of a new language. That would be nice for everyone. Here's our chat question. How do you think translators help bring people together and promote understanding between different cultures?
Well, this is an easy one. Translators can help bring people together by helping them understand each other. Even if they speak different languages, they make sure that ideas and feelings are shared accurately, which helps different cultures connect and learn from each other. I think with translators, people from different backgrounds and can communicate and build friendships, which promotes understanding and respect.
And understanding and respect are wonderful things that keep our peaceful world, keep our world more peaceful, and translators do a big part in that job. So we salute them, and we salute you guys for trying to learn a new language. It's only going to bring good things to your life and open all sorts of doors, so stick with it. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you back here sometime soon. Until then, arrivederci.
sayonara.
Auf Wiedersehen.
A bientôt.
Adios, amigos.
Okay, I'm running out of greetings.
You're running at me too. Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Gap. The Australian businessman found that the cultural gap created difficulty when doing business in Japan. Unite. Charlie and Teresa grew up in different countries, but they are united by a common culture. Official. The first official modern Olympic Games were held in Athens, Greece in 1896. Announcement. The store's staff made an announcement that the shop would be closing in 30 minutes. Greeting. Michelle gave her old friend a very warm greeting, which included a long hug. Connect. Mia connected with Tim because they both enjoyed painting and singing.
智慧小补帖。
Translation.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是www.english4u.net www.english4u.net